Hello, hi, welcome to some high level, high quality, presumably, adaptive KAGI monthly madness action for the month of August. This is the round of 32, and on the bottom side of the screen we have General Store, who has brought Warily Ludicrous Lillith, and on the top side of the screen we have Tutenkharnage, who has brought Honourable Järviletter, henceforth known as Jarv. These two decks are familiar to me. I've played against them both on different occasions. Let's start with the More Mass Mutations deck that General Store has brought. It is a double Gigantics deck with both Horizon Saber and Ascendant Hester, both new Gigantics. Horizon Saber is a pretty cool one. It has a play/afterfight/after reap ability that lets you search your deck and discard pile for a card, put it into your archives, and then shuffle your discard pile into your deck. So you can use that to effectively have a card available for your next turn. And they are worried that I'm not here, but I'm happy to report that I am. So in a scenario like this, you could play Horizon Saber on a Logos turn, grab the Grey Rider, and then take another Sanctum turn after that, and you can use Grey Rider to then get the after fight effect of the Horizon Saber to then set up another turn. So you can kind of chain together multiple turns if you line it up. A very interesting card to play around for adaptive. The Ascendant Hester cares about captured amber in some capacity. There are some capture pips. This Shadows House doesn't do a lot of stealing as opposed to many Shadows Houses, but there is a Splinter who is a 1-power creature but has distributed 6 damage pips across the deck. So nice little spread around damage action across all the houses. It's a pretty middle of the road deck as far as power level is concerned, which totally fair game to bring in adaptive. So a very interesting choice, and watching how the Horizon Saber gets used is going to be pretty fun and interesting. Both of the Gigantics came with Tomes Gigantica. There are different options for linked rarity cards to go with the gigantic creatures. This one finds both halves, puts them into your hand, and purges itself. So we can only get a max 2 chances at the gigantic creatures with the search cards. So that's Lilith. On the other side, we have Jarv. Jarv is a woe deck with a Scholar token. So Scholar, let's start with that. It's a Dinosaur Philosopher 1-power. After reap, draw 1 card. So on its own, it's okay. But when you have a Legionary Trainer in play, it comes into play ready, so you get to use it right away. And that is why the Saurian house is the powerhouse in Jarv. If you can stick a trainer that will make a Scholar right away, you can use that to draw another card. You have a couple other token makers in-house, and you also have 2 Orator Hisaros, which are dinosaur politicians that play with deploy, so they can go anywhere in your battle line, and they ready and exalt their neighboring creatures, making them House Saurian. In this deck, the most important thing you can do is play it between either 2 Scholars or a Scholar and something that's some other dinosaur that's relevant, and to get more uses out of them in your kind of big combo turn. The Sanctum and Mars houses are also good and do valuable things, but they are pale in comparison to the power of the Saurian. They do offer some amber control though, which is pretty useful if it is not blistering fast. So the question then becomes, I think you're bidding on Jarv here. Because the power it has out of hand is so good that you need to delay that somewhat. We don't have big amber answers. So the The problem in this matchup for Lillith is that when Jarv does its big combo turn, it's also going to make a ton of amber, and you don't have a way to solve that. You don't have something like an effervescent principle or some other big way to remove a bunch of amber that just got made and kind of slow the game back down. So chains on Jarv seem appropriate. Now the question is, how many chains? And to start, I think I'm looking at what kind of creature control answers Lillith is packing. So Kurzap, which is a Logos action that says destroy each non-mutant creature, gain 1 chain. That will destroy all of the creatures that the WoE deck is going to put into play. Very helpful. Dark Wave deals 2 damage to each non-mutant creature. Also will destroy a board of Scholars and Legionary Trainers that may come into play. Appa's Research will delay it for a turn by stopping creatures from reaping. And then we have the miscellaneous damage pips brought by Splinter and the Secret Needles being able to deal a damage and the Diametric Charge being able to deal a damage. There is a good amount of damage kind of splashed around here, so that if you do not lose the game on the first turn of Scholar spam, you can then handle the Scholar board that gets presented to you. But that first turn of Scholar spam is going to make a lot of amber. So how do we keep up with that is the next question. And if we're trying to capture amber here with the Ascendant Hester, with the couple of capture pips that are floating around, that is going to run into the Kaboom / Ammonia Clouds / Grand Melee, depending on how you organize your battle line. And eventually the creatures will die. Creatures do not live forever in this matchup against Jarv. You have the tools to be able to get rid of them if you need to. Okay, looks like both players have selected the WoE tokens deck for bidding. The number is definitely more than 7, I think. And 4 card hands for Jarv are not the worst. I mean, it just takes 1 trainer, 1 Longest Relictor, and a Hisaro, and you're off and running. So you can get started from very little, and I don't think Lillith is going to put a lot of pressure on very quickly. So we'll have time to shed some chains. I can definitely see this bidding getting up to double digits. I think 15 is definitely a ceiling that I'm thinking about. And 15 is probably a little high. But maybe not. Jarv also doesn't get Horizon Saber off the board very easily, short of the Kaboom or poor battle line placement with the Beware the Ides or a Grand Melee. So if we find the Saber engine early, then we can have answers prepared. You can try things like using Horizon Saber to loop opposition researches if you think they are ready to go for the Saurian turn, making it so that the Saurian turn is a lot less powerful because the Scholars can't reap, and then after they have laid out the Saurian turn, you can then clear it up with a Kurzap or something like that. The bid is 5, the bid goes up to 6. I think we have a ways to go. I could see a pass around 13. I don't know if that's right, but I could see it. Do we know which deck goes first? Lots of discussion here. I don't. They know, I don't. One of these decks goes first. doesn't make a huge difference. It's always nice if you are taking the chain deck for it to go first, because you are in many ways shedding an extra chain without really getting penalized too much. And there are some pretty good first turn plays in Jarv, and either of the Mars artifacts are pretty nice to see early. The Ironix Vatminder is a pretty nice first turn play. The Sanctum is less exciting. We're up to 8 chains now. I don't see either player passing too early. You surely cannot look at this matchup and think that 8 chains is correct. Because, despite the fact that you can kill the scholars after they hit the board, you cannot answer the amber that they are going to make while they do the entering of the board. That's kind of the key thing that I am factoring in as the difference between these two, is that when Lillith is doing the thing, that thing doesn't necessarily make it a bunch of amber. When Jarv does the thing, you're getting a pile of amber out of that. But we're thinking about 9. And even if we're at, say we pass at 8 or 9 here, the first 3 turns can be slow, but Lillith is not going to be that far ahead in those first 3 turns. You might have a board would be cool. You don't have a ton of creatures in here either. A 4 house, there's a bit of 9. So you've got a 6 creature house, a 5 creature house, and a 4 creature house, for a total of 15 creatures, quick math tells me. And that includes double gigantic, so it's effectively 13 creatures. So the board isn't going to get super wide, and it's not going to grow super big either. The size of the creatures here, as is kind of the case in most of the mass mutations deck running around, not particularly large, besides the 2 gigantics. We're at 9. We're thinking about the 9. We're certainly taking our time about it. I appreciate having to do very thorough analysis on the way this matchup is shaping up and what I expect to see as the game progresses. There's a lot of creature control in Lillith. So if Jarv hits the pieces that it's trying to hit in an awkward fashion, I can see how Lillith would then have the advantage, because it would be able to disassemble the threats before they get to do the crazy thing, if you aren't able to put them all in hand at once, and chains make it harder to do that. Big goes up to 10. Okay, now we're getting somewhere where I could see a pass, especially if Jarvis going second. I can see it's a little early, but I could see a pass. I think we're getting into a more reasonable range. 4 turns of 2-card hands, or 4 turns of 4-card hands. Hey, there's the pass. General Store passes. Tutenkharnage will play Jarv at 10 chains. And apparently they were right on the cusp. So both of them a little more conservative. Okay, well, and Jarv goes second. Okay. So, yeah. A little less aggressive than me. I think that's fair. We will see how slowed down Jarv is in the first couple turns. Because I feel like by the time you hit 5 cards, you're humming. You're just humming smooth and living your best life. And I don't think I do not think you will have lost the game by the time you get to 5. By the time you get to turn 5 or so, and you get down to your 5-card hands. Players wishing each other best of luck. First player is corrected. Very good. We could also just see Jarv draw like a great hand and just get super far ahead right off the bat. Would not surprise me. I think, given that the best answer for the Gigantics is the Kaboom, we will... I'm going to be keeping an eye out to see if the Kaboom gets tokenized. So one of the tricky parts of playing a tokens deck, like a Winds of Exchange deck or a Tokens of Change deck, is that your cards sometimes get turned into tokens. A part of randomness that is inherent in any card game, and it's a shame that sometimes you have to look at that card and play, think, man, if this were just in my hand, it'd be exactly where I need it. So some tokens decks you can play in such a way that they don't make tokens to return that consistency of, oh, I know I'm going to get to see every card in my deck in a single pass through. This is not one of those. This one you definitely want to be making tokens. So it's possible that Kaboom gets tucked under a Scholar, and then it's not available. And then, if that happens, your best answer for the Gigantics becomes the Retribution, which requires you have a smaller board, but also your goal is to have a bigger board. So whenever the Gigantics play, and they're going to hit play, making sure that you have an answer ready for them is going to be something we definitely want to pay attention to. Let's see, we had a Mulligan from General Store and a key from Tutenkharnage. General Store starts the game off with the Munchling, and we see Tutenkharnage with a token and an Amber Pip, and then General Store gains 2 Amber off of a Free Markets. Very cool little Sanctum card. Originally printed in Age of Ascension, I think. Yeah, so it's a Sanctum action. Play, gain 1 Amber to a maximum of 6 for each house represented among cards in play, except for Sanctum. So the Saurian and the Logos cards combine to make 2 Amber for General Store, and then a creature, and then an artifact, and then a Cleansing Wave to gain another Amber, so some good Amber burst to get started. We see the Grand Melee come out from Tutenkharnage. That's his only card for the turn, and is a nifty piece of creature control that is now gone. General Store follows it up with a creature and a pip, and a use of Amber Heart, the artifact, to ward and exalt General Salvador. So far, a lot of Sanctum has been played. I think we're looking at like 4 Sanctum turns out of 6. It might be 5 Sanctum turns out of 6. These 2 players, now, Sanctum is getting purged or otherwise done away with due to the storyline event, but Sanctum is well and truly thriving in this game of Keyforge right here. So now we see a Shadow's turn. Shoulder Id Splinter, 2 creatures, a Lights Out. Puts Martyr of the Vault back into hand. Getting cards put back in your hand pretty rough when you have chains, although we are down to 6 chains now, so we are approaching freedom. We get Legionary Trainer, 2 power, Dinosaur Soldier. Each friendly token creature enters play ready, and when you play it, you make a token creature. That made a Scholar. That Scholar reaped a card. Then we get an Aura to Hisaro to ready the Scholar and the Trainer to draw another card, and then we get Elector, which makes a token that draws a card, and then a Hisaro to ready the Scholar and the Lector to make a token and draw a card and make that token. So yeah, Long story short, this is the thing that we were talking about in the lead up to the game. Tuten's now up to 8 amber, still has a 5-card hand, has a board of 7 creatures. They are covered in amber. So now you need the answer. You've had 4 turns to make sure you're ready to answer this problem if it presents itself, and it has now presented itself. General Store, is there a Kurzap in your hand? No immediate house call. That does not bode well for the Kurzap being in his hand, because I think you would see a Snap logo skull here if that were the case. Tutenkharnage, however, is 200% confident that General Store has an answer to the board. Now, it doesn't specify in hand, so I do agree that there are answers to the board in deck. I don't agree that he is holding one in his hand right now. And the problem is there are only 2 cards that do it. So if we have the Dark Wave here, that's good. Problem is, I don't think you do. Look over there, it hits the Lector. I think that needed to hit the Trainer unless we have a damage pip coming. We do. Excellent. Lucky dice with 2 damage pips. Very cool little lucky dice. Alex makes an amber. So Trainer off the board means that Scholars don't enter play ready anymore, and that's pretty good. Splinter fights another Scholar. So the decks are about even on amber right now. Tutenkharnage forges the first key. 5 Saurian creatures in play that could all just reap and make amber and draw 2 cards. Is that what he wants to do? Yes. I don't blame him. It's a pretty powerful play. Your opponent didn't have the answer to the board last turn, despite it being 200% confident, and only drew 2 cards because we played a lucky dice and we played a look over there. So that's 2 shots to hit one of Kurzap or Darkwave, and really you kind of need the Kurzap at this point. We get a check, we draw the Failing Strike, or maybe it was already in hand, I don't know. Failing Strike is great here. It's a Saurian action with an Amber Pip, and then it says play, choose a creature, deal 1 damage to it for each friendly creature. You may exalt a friendly creature to repeat the preceding effect, which I don't believe we've done, because we only deal 5 damage. But we killed off the General Salvador, so now there's nothing in play that could fight. And here comes a Logos turn. Bot booked in, Infomorph with a draw. That draw needs to be Kurzap. And even then, it may be too slow, as Jarva's knocking on the door. 1 key, 9 amber in its pool. You need to be able to claim this pile of 6 amber that's in play. And then, amber count-wise, these decks are even as far as we've seen amber exist, but one of them has it in its pool, and one of them is staring at it on the other side of the table and dreaming about how cool it would be if it was in its hand. General Store discarding half of Horizon Saber, the bottom half. So we've seen 3 Logos cards. Diametric Charge kills a Scholar. And we kept this hand down. We mulliganed this hand. So we mulliganed away something and drew into a hand that did not actually answer Scholars. Now, this is a cool Logos turn. We're going to play 5 cards here. Hand is empty. I mean, what more could you ask for? What we would ask for is a Kurzap, actually, is what we would be asking for. So, Tutenkharnage forces the second key. Could go back into Dinosaurs here again. And I think you're probably doing that unless your hand makes 3 amber. Which it might. Definitely a tricky turn here, though. Because we did, after the creature to start that last turn from General Store, we found a pip on the Diametric Charge, a pip on the Howling Pit, a pip on the Sloppy Loudwork. So we ended that turn at check with 7 amber. Not a bad spot to be. We drew a full 7 cards, so we've seen a lot more of the deck now. Now is the time where you start thinking about how much Amber Control is even available to Lillith. So I believe Ascendant Hester does something with Amber, so we're going to count that as 1. General Zavador brings 2 capture pips. I believe you've seen at least one of those. Yeah, we've seen one of those go by. In Shadows, the look over there is a capture. From hand, there's another capture pip floating around. But that's it. So if Tutenkharnage gets to 6 here, I think it's only answered by either Ascendant Hester or the capture pip that's floating around. Strong argument for going sorry in here, and just sometimes you just gotta make them have it. This is one of those times, I think. If they do have it, unless the capture pip is in logos, they aren't gonna get to use the board. That probably means they aren't gonna get to kill your creatures. Now, obviously, the hand that Jarv has is not particularly good because Tutenkharnage clearly is not very inclined to go to it in this time of need, where finding just a couple extra Amber Pips is so crucial. We know that there's a Martyr of the Vault in hand. No Kaboom lost yet. Said I was going to track that. It suddenly didn't matter very much as soon as the Saurian boards flopped and went crazy. And that's kind of the tricky part about 10 chains. I mean, we're on the 6th turn of the game now. We've lost about half of our chains, but we hit the thing, and it's hard to know exactly how many of these Saurian cards were in hand when we started these shenanigans, but probably 3. Hard to say. There we go. We got there. Saurian, Reap, check at 6. General st0re gets to forge. Limited amount of answers. Has seen most of the deck. Sanctum is the house call. Tome Giganta is going to find our gigantic creature here. Takes 1/2 of Ascendant Hester, 1/2 Horizon Saber. The damage pip, that's kind of nifty. Alright, Ascendant Hester, play after fight, each friendly creature captures 1. So yeah, that was the answer. And we have it. Amberheart's gonna ward. And now it gets tricky because you can't deal any damage to these creatures since the lucky dice, but also obviously your hand is not that good because you would have played it last turn. Your board doesn't get you to check on the side of Jarv, and you can't lose your board because then that puts them in check. Also, the best piece of Amber Control in here is the Martyr of the Vault, which we've seen, and I believe is in hand. It's a 4-power, 1 armor Sanctum Knight Human, that has a destroyed effect. If your opponent has 7 or more Amber, they lose all but 5. So that could answer a burst turn, but since it's in your hand right now, you'll need a way to kill it, and that is something that Jarv does not have access to anymore because the Grand Melee is gone. So instead, we are going to see the Sanctum turn. The Martyr of the Vault presumably is going to hit play. And now I pass it back. Both decks on 2 keys, 3 Amber in the pool. Piles of Amber in play. The joy of capturing. General Store is looking at his hand. 7 cards in hand, 1 card in archives. That archives came from a sloppy lab work and was probably pretty good. What did we discard off that sloppy lab work? We discarded nothing because our hand was empty. Very cool. So, kept the last card around just for fun. You could play Kurzap on this board if you found it. Your Hester would lose its ward, your shoulder would die, but you would collect. And notably, so when Captured Amber when a creature with Captured Amber on it leaves play, the Amber goes to its to their opponent, but that happens after the destroyed effect of a Martyr of the Vault would happen. So if you have the Kurzap here, you can Kurzap. Martyr Vault says, hey, I've been destroyed. Let's check how much Amber you have. Oh, I see it's less than 7. You're all good. Thank you. Have a nice day. And then everything gets removed, and General Store would get all of the 5 Amber that's sitting around in place. They would get up to 8. They could potentially reap with their 2 Logos creatures, get up to 10, and that would probably be enough. There's not a lot to slow things down from this jar of deck. You want to win the race, which you were doing until you stopped doing it, and now you've got problems. We haven't yet seen the Mars board do too much. There is an Ammonia Clouds, which deals damage across all creatures in play take 3, and then 2 copies of Mars Needs Amber, which is a Mars action with an Amber pip on it that says each of your opponent's non-Mars creatures that are damaged capture 1 from their own side. So that 2-card combo is dependent on how many creatures we have and how much Amber we have on them, apparently. So Ascendant Hester, 8 power, no armor, Night Spirit in Sanctum. It's a gigantic creature, so it takes up 2 cards. Each other friendly creature gets +2 armor for each Amber on it, and each friendly creature captures 1. So if we are able to dish out a bunch of Amber on, so if we say it's a Sanctum call here, probably not, but let's say, you can use Hester, you can fight into Martyr of the Vault, you can then capture the remaining 3 Amber onto your other creatures, and then suddenly you are more protected from the shenanigans of Ammonia Clouds plus Mars Needs Amber. It's also probably true that worrying about that is less important than just making sure that you are threatening to win the game. So I would guess that we haven't seen the Kurzap here, because otherwise I think I'd be snap calling Logos. You do get a look at the top card of your deck and potentially playing it in the bot bookton. So does the rest of your Logos turn get you to check? We've played 4 Logos cards. We've seen half of a Horizon Saber. The other half is in hand. If we have Tomes Gigantica for Logos in hand, that means we can assemble the Horizon Saber. And Logos is the call. So, yeah, Tomes, if we have it, it's going to be good. If we don't have it, it's going to be less good because you can't play it. But I would expect to see either Reap from the 2 Logos creatures, or I could see Infomorph fighting into Legionary Lector to get to 6, and then it dies. So this, okay, Darkwave. Bot Button plays Darkwave. That is, Now you have a Martyr of the Vault that could take you off check. Now, so long as it doesn't put Tute onto check by calling Sanctum, then it's fine. And I don't think it will. But, oh, the other capture pips. What a little cheeky little Infomorph. Infomorph, normally just a 4-power creature, no other relevant abilities. It has Enhance, which means that when your deck is generated, it adds 2 draw icons to cards in the deck. This one has also caught some Enhance from other cards in the deck, so it has a Capture Pip, a Damage Pip, and a Draw Pip, in addition to being the normal 4-power mutant that it is. Capture another Amber. This Infomorph presumably is going to Reap. Nope, it's going to fight the... Damage Pip kills the Orator. We have 1 Infomorph remaining that is ready and can fight or can reap, but it probably needs to fight. Really doesn't matter. I think what matters here is whether or not Tutenkharnage has drawn Kaboom. So the problem with hitting the Dark Wave off the top is that it killed a lot of creatures, but it didn't kill... Okay, it didn't kill the Martyr of the Vault. So now we're going to see Martyr of the Vault make its exit. It's going to make General Store lose 5. Then we're going to play Tomes Gigantica. So we're going to search our deck and discard pile for 2 halves of a gigantic creature, reveal them, put them into hand. That's why the Horizon Saber is now here. 11 power, 2 armor. Play after fight after reap. Search your deck and discard pile for a card. Reveal it and put it into your archives. Shuffle your discard pile into your deck. So Horizon Saber comes into play. We're gonna find something. Now it gets a lot harder for Tuten because you kind of need to at least have a Mars Needs Amber. Borrow is the find. Borrow is a tricky little find. But it assumes that you have a Shadows creature available to you, 2 Shadows creatures available to you, and you might not. Mars is the call. Brain Dart is the first play. That takes General Store off check. Mars Needs Amber is the second play. That continues to take General Store farther off of check. Kaboom is here. Jarv gets to 12. There is no answer for 12 in Lillith. I think that's going to be our game. So you had to be scared of the Kaboom. And that is why flipping the Dark Wave was a problem. So in hindsight, and hindsight's always 20/20, the correct line would be to have your Infomorph fight into the Martyr of the Vault so it's damaged. That way when you flip the Dark Wave, you get to kill the Martyr of the Vault when you are also collecting all of this other amber and avoid the penalty of getting dinged for a bunch. You could still lose to some combination of Ammonia Clouds, Mars Needs Amber, and then a Kaboom, something like that, but it's much harder to accomplish. Instead here we're going to see a Shadows Call, some artifacts, we're going to borrow the Lightbringer Outpost, we're going to use that to capture 3, and that's going to be the game. Tutenkharnage on Jarv takes it. Really interesting game with a lot of tricky lines. I still kind of wish it was a chain boot was a little higher. You definitely feel a lot more comfortable on Lillith if you take those 2 extra chains or so. So another extra turn or 2 in order to find the answers that you need. Have some artifacts in play, have some other things ready to go. In this scenario, we watched Lillith have to struggle from behind after the Jarv did the thing, not having the answer right away. Very tricky stuff. Very cool little matchup. And yeah, Tutenkharnage advances to the round of 16, and both players are probably going to be back in September. But thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.